Welcome to the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My name is Dave Knittel, here with my brother Matthew. Christian, like a loser, has a real job, so it's just going to be us two today. Matt, hello.
Hello, David. How are you?
I'm doing well. We're crossing our fingers here and hoping Matt's internet cooperates throughout. So he's a little spotty, and we're just gonna hope, and it's gonna be okay, right, Matt?
Yeah, I should have brought this up before, but should I just have plugged my Ethernet cord in? But
Yes.
we're already started, so
Okay.
will you disconnect me?
I don't know how the internet works, but all right, we'll try to roll with this. If we lose Matt at any point, or if he gets so bad, we'll try the Ethernet cord situation. If you're joining us live on YouTube, hello, say hello, interact with us as we go along here. We're going to do a group by group quick preview in the first section. Second section, we're going to talk about favorites. And then in the third section, we're going to talk about some players to watch out for and a couple other storylines happening in the World Cup. And I think that's it. Matt, you ready to get into it?
Yes, I am, David.
Okay. All right, let's do it. Welcome to Bros Talking Soccer. My name is Dave Knittel. I'm here with my brother Matt today to talk about the 2019 World Cup. Christian, like a loser, is off working a real job, so it's just going to be us on the podcast, and we are very excited about it. Matthew, hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, David. I start my loser job next week, so I won't be around during the weeks too much more often.
All right. I, however, will be around, everybody, so you can look forward to that. We are going to be doing live podcasts every day after the matches are completed throughout the month of June into July. Every day there's a World Cup, we're going to do a podcast. I will definitely be on. Matt and Christian, I'm sure, will be on for some, and we'll try to get guests for others. But overall, you can expect a lot of content from us at Bros Talking Soccer. Before we get to today's podcast, I wanted to quickly mention we have joined the Big Heads Media Network. So go to bigheadsmedia.com to find over 30 different great podcasts. Make sure to check that out. Last thing I wanted to mention before we get into it, Matt and I have done our research. We've tried our best, but we are by no means experts in the women's soccer space. I wanted to provide that disclaimer up front. We're going to do our best within this section. I will say the Total Soccer Show is going through on a group by group basis and going very in depth into each of the groups. So if you're looking for more content, go check out their podcasts. Matthew, anything else you would like to say before we get into it?
I agree with what you just said. I think that was very well put.
Oh, thanks, Matt. I try really hard, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeff. Guy.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. He's joining us live on YouTube. Appreciate you being here, man, and always love interacting with you on Twitter. So jumping into things, first segment, let's talk about the groups. So Group A is going to be France, Korea Republic, also known as South Korea, Norway, and Nigeria. Matt, do you want to give your thoughts? Why don't we start with you? You'll give Group A, I'll give my response, and then the second one, I'll go first, and then we'll do that. Does that work for you, Matt? What do you think is going to happen in Group A?
So I think France is definitely the most talented team in this group. I think they should handle it pretty well and come out on top. A little bit of a surprise here. I think Norway, with kind of the distractions they've had, are going to slip to third place in this group, and South Korea or Korea Republic is going to go through in this group. That's my, I guess, my sleeper pick for pretty much the whole tournament. South Korea, got a decent bit of faith in them. Nigeria, I know they do have the three-time, I think one of their players, I forget her name, it was very hard to pronounce. She was three-time African Footballer of the Year, was like Golden Ball and Golden Boot winner at the U20 level. So I think she's a player to watch out for. I don't think depth-wise Nigeria has it. So I think it's France, Korea, Norway goes through as a third team.
Would you look at that? Would you look at that, Matt? I actually have the exact same prediction. France, I mean, they're second favorites to win the whole World Cup. They are hosting the tournament, incredibly strong team. South Korea has a underrated defense, or I guess properly rated. I know the Total Soccer Show guys said that they were a bit, they could be exposed, but I don't think they gave up a goal in qualifying, and I expect them to come through in second as a bit of surprise. Norway, they're historically strong, but no Ada Hegerberg, which we'll talk about in our third section, is really going to hurt them. And then Nigeria, there's certainly no pushover, but I just have those other three teams coming through. And then, we'll talk about, because of the way the Women's World Cup is structured, there are going to be 4 third place teams to get through. We'll talk about that after we get through the groups, but that's just a little teaser there. Moving to Group B, we have Spain, Germany, China, and South Korea in this group. Also, you may notice that I am saying these in the order that I think they're going to finish. And so this is probably my shock of the tournament, especially in the group stages. I have Spain coming through first in this group. Germany is third favorites to win this thing. They are one of the strongest sides in the world. And this may be just a dumb prediction on my part, but I really love what Spain is doing for the women's game. La Liga took over the club kind of management of their leagues in 2015, and they've really done a great job of investing in that. That's starting to bear fruit at the youth levels. U17 and U20, the Spain team has done very well, and I'm predicting that maybe they bust through here and come out in first in this group. So that's a huge kind of ballsy pick on my part, but that's what I'm going with. Second, I have Germany. Again, I mean, they're historically very, very strong and could easily win this group, but that's kind of my ballsy pick. China, meanwhile, they have always been competitive in the women's game, but they've never quite been the top team, and that's still the case. They're not nearly as competitive as Spain and Germany. And South Africa, I should say. It's the first time they're qualifying for the tournament. They have incredibly long odds to win, and I think this is going to be a learning experience for them, but I have them coming through in fourth. Matt, what do you think is going to happen in Group B?
Yeah, so I had the exact same thing as you did. I had Spain. I know Germany's very talented. I think they could go very deep into the tournament, but I think in the group stage, there could be a shock with Spain coming out on top. So I actually had Spain in first, Germany in second. I still think Germany should go through, no problem. And I still think they are the more talented team, but I think just like what Spain's doing right now, I think they have a good shot of coming out on top. So I had the exact same order you had, and for very similar reasons.
All right, there you have it. And we'll talk about this probably later, but Germany coming through in second out of that group is going to have major ramifications for the rest of the tournament. And, that's just there's some more foreshadowing with you. We've got foreshadowing left and right on this podcast. Matt, Group C, why don't you just go ahead and say, I don't think we need to say the team name. So why don't you just go ahead and give your predictions, and then we can riff off that. So Group C, what's going to happen?
Okay, so Brazil, I think they went 7-0 in their qualifiers. Pretty handled South America pretty well. So I think they're going to top this group. Australia, another historically powerful team. I have them coming through in second. I feel like this is a very heavy group here. And Italy, I think they're getting decently better. I think they haven't been to a tournament since like 2007. Am I right with that?
I don't think they've been to a World Cup since the 99 World Cup in the U.S.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so they've taken a long break. I think they're going to come in third place, but I think it's still very top heavy. Jamaica, the first Caribbean team ever, right, to qualify. So, I mean, congratulations on qualifying, but I think you got put in a very hard group to come out of. So I think they're going to come in last.
So I agree with a lot of what you said, but I actually have Australia and Brazil flipped. Now, Australia, they are going to be in a battle for Brazil. They're the two strongest teams in this group. They had a bit of chaos with their manager and federation. I think a lot of that has been resolved, and they're a very strong team historically, and they have one of the best players in the world in Sam Kerr. Brazil, meanwhile, they did do very well in qualifying, but they've kind of been trending in the wrong direction since qualifying. I think that they've gone quite a bit without winning games, and Marta is still a fantastic player, but she's kind of getting older and not necessarily at her peak anymore. And so for that reason, I think Australia is able to pip the group and come in first. Italy, I'm with you. I have them coming third. It's their first tournament back since 1999. And again, coming through a tough European qualification, I'm always going to give them the edge over a team like Jamaica, who's making their debut. They've had all kinds of funding issues. Shout out the Marley family. So Bob Marley's family, he's obviously passed at this point, but I think it's either his kids or his grandkids are funding this team. They're having a lot of issues with funding, and they're making their debut. I think that they can make some noise, but ultimately comes fourth in this group. Anything else you want to add?
So which third place teams do you have going through? Have you said?
No. So I said let's do that after we name all the groups, but I have them listed in my head.
Okay, yeah, I have them separate too, but I've been kind of saying it as it goes on.
Yeah. So we'll do that after we do Group F. Does that work, Matt?
Okay, that works.
Producing on the fly, people. You're getting a little behind the scenes look here. Moving to Group D, I have England coming in first, Japan second, Scotland third, and Argentina fourth. Now, England, they're, I believe, fourth favorites to win this tournament. They have been making lots of noise over the last few years. They've advanced out of their group in the last two World Cups and the last three that they've been involved in. So 2007, 2011, and 2015. Nope, I can't do math. So they've advanced out of their last three groups. That's how that works. And they've looked really good. They finished third in 2015. I think they're going to be able to build on that momentum and make a deep run in this tournament. Japan, meanwhile, they have historically a very strong side, and they finished second in 2015. pristine. But again, I like what England is doing. I think that they're doing a good job of developing. And again, I think they're trending in a better direction than Japan is. Scotland is a dark horse in this tournament. They can make some serious noise. I think it's their first tournament they've qualified for, but they're coming through European qualification. Again, I've already mentioned it. Teams coming through European qualification, I think, just have a certain edge about them, a certain professionalism. And so I think that they can make this group difficult for both England and Japan. And Argentina, it's their third time qualifying for the tournament, but they have not done historically well in the World Cup. I think, again, that they struggle and ultimately come fourth in this group. The one thing I do want to mention, just going through all these groups, with there only being 6 groups, almost all of these, you could make an argument, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3, that these are groups of death. I mean, Group A could have been, France certainly doesn't have it easy in that one. And Group C is another one that's going to be tough. This one might have the strongest case for being the toughest group, with all of these teams realistically having a shout for possibly getting through. So, Matt, what do you think is going to happen in Group D?
Yeah, so like you said, I think England is going to come out on top the last couple of years, and just what the English club teams have done for the women's game. I think it's trending in the right direction. I think they're very talented. I follow, not too closely, but I have been following the women's Premier League and things like that with Man City's team. They kind of promote that pretty well. So and Chelsea does very well with that. So I've been kind of following those 2 teams and knowing just kind of the direction it's going in England. And I think they are going to top this group. Japan, just how talented they've been for kind of so long. I think they're definitely going to come out in second. Have no problem coming out of this group. Very talented players around the pitch. So I think those 2 are definitely the favorites. And then I have Argentina coming in third. Scotland with their first tournament ever. I'm not sure if they're going to necessarily grasp kind of what's going on, just to handle the pressure.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
The women's game. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, there you go. Then, Matt, what do you think is going to happen in Group E?
Group E. Okay, so I have Canada coming out winning this group. I think they are extremely talented. They came in second. I think North America, their recent games, I mean, they perform pretty well pretty much all the time against the United States. They're a very talented team. I think they're definitely the best team in this group. Second place, I had Netherlands. They have a bunch of talented players playing at some of the top women's teams throughout Europe. So I think they're probably the second best team. And New Zealand, who had, I think, 7 players with over 100 caps. They're like the most experienced team. Them in the U.S., I think U.S. had 8 players with over 100 caps. But they're one of the more experienced teams. They've kind of been trending in the wrong direction. They were once kind of thought among like the world's better teams, New Zealand, but they really haven't had too many impressive wins in the last year or 2. I still think the experience of playing in major tournaments is going to help them get that third place. And then I have Cameroon coming in fourth.
All right, there you go. I have Netherlands coming through first in this group. They are the reigning European champions, if I'm correct. And they've just been growing the women's game in a lot of different ways. Matt, you touched on a lot of their players are playing for the best teams throughout Europe and or the world. And so I have them coming through. And they're similar to Spain, who I mentioned earlier, that they're really starting to build up their women's team and I think going to make serious noise moving forward. So I have them coming through in first. Canada, meanwhile, coming through in second. They're a perennial powerhouse, but I think they're slipping a bit in quality and or just not necessarily quality, but just in comparison to what the European nations are really starting to do and really starting to commit to the women's game. And, Canada, while they're still very strong, I think that they're just slipping a little bit, and I give the edge to Netherlands there. New Zealand, I have coming through in third. They dominated their qualifying. They scored 43 goals with none conceded. Now, I don't know if that's necessarily the best competition to prepare you for a tournament like this, Matt, but you said, their experience. And so that's why I think they find a way to get through in third. And then Cameroon, second straight World Cup that they're qualifying for. But just more or less, it's not really anything to slight Cameroon. It's more just the other 3 teams I think are just very talented and are going to find a way to get wins and move through these groups. I actually have 3 coming through this group, but we'll talk about that after we talk about Group F. Matt, anything you want to add on Group E before I move on?
No.
Group F, I have the USA coming through in first, Sweden coming through in second, Chile third, and Thailand fourth. Now, the USA, they're favorites for the entire tournament. They scored 26 goals, conceded none in qualifying. Their qualifying is a little bit tougher than, someone like New Zealand, who we were talking about just before. Supremely experience. They're the reigning World Cup champions. They made a decision. Jill Ellis, their coach, made a decision to bring experienced players over players that maybe you could argue were a little bit more deserving based on current form. And I think that experience will serve them well throughout the tournament. And I also think that's why they're able to come through first in their group ahead of Sweden, who is a strong team in and of themselves. They knocked out the USA in the 2016 Olympic quarterfinals, not World Cup. So I think the U.S. is going to be out for a bit of revenge when those two play in their last group match. And that's why I think U.S. comes through in first out of this group, but Sweden is strong enough to beat the other two opponents and come through in second. Chile, meanwhile, they're making their debut. They came in second in the Copa America Femenina, I believe is how you pronounce it, to Brazil, and that's how they qualified for this tournament. They're starting to, build their women's program, and this is a side coming through that is talented enough to, I think, finish ahead of Thailand, who, while this is their second straight World Cup, I don't think they have the talent of a Chile, and that's why Thailand comes fourth and Chile comes third. Matt, what do you think is going to happen in Group F?
I don't really have too much more to add. I think you're spot on with all your predictions there. I will say Thailand it's just unfortunate for them to have USA and Sweden to where they really have to perform against Chile, and same with Chile against Thailand. That matchup's very important for them because it's going to be tough for them to get a result against USA and Sweden. I think they're definitely the two favorites from this group.
All right, there we go. So we've said obviously the top two from each group have gone through, and we've already mentioned that. So there are 4 third place teams that are going to move through from the groups. Matt, do you want to give your 4 that you think are going to move through?
Yeah, I wrote them out of order because I'm an idiot. But all right, let me say, okay, so I think Norway from Group A will go through. I said that earlier. But I think they have the most talent and just ability to perform against, maybe the better teams, get draws to where they'll get 4 or 5 points, and maybe come in third in their group. So I have them. China is another third place team I have going through. I think they can handle South Africa and maybe get a point, and maybe that's why Germany will come in second. Maybe China takes a point off them. At Group C, I have Italy going through. I think they'll handle Jamaica, and I could see them stealing a point from Australia, maybe even getting a win. And what was the other? Oh yeah, and New Zealand in Group E. So I could just see them taking points. For Scotland and Argentina, I think Japan and England are too strong. So Group D, I don't have anyone going through. And then Group F, USA and Sweden are too strong for Thailand or Chile to go through.
So that's honestly almost exactly. So it is the exact same 4 teams. The only thing I wanted to point out, my last team, I believe it's going to be between Italy and Scotland. And the reason I chose Italy over Scotland is because I think Italy is able to keep it maybe a little bit tighter against Australia and Brazil and really able to beat up on Jamaica, whereas Scotland maybe isn't going to be able to have that same thing happen against Argentina in their group. So I'm in agreement, Matt. Norway, China, New Zealand, and Italy moving through as the 4 third place finishers. So there you go. Did it in about 15, 16 minutes. I think that's your quick overview of the groups, Matthew.
Did we have the exact same thing other than one group flipped?
I think we had 2 groups flipped, but for the most part, I think we have all the same teams going through, but just slightly different order. So I don't know what that says. I don't know if that's just us being brothers, if that's us being same. Yeah. So there you have it, everybody. That's Group 1, or that's our first segment where we overviewed the groups. Stick around. You're going to hear a little bit of music, and then we'll be back with our second segment where we'll talk about some of the favorites and what we think is going to happen throughout the tournament. All right, cool. Jeff, thank you for being here. Matt, I don't know if you're still here, but I hope you enjoy your walk. So for those who don't know, or maybe this is your first time tuning in, we record live on YouTube, and then I edit and I insert other, our ads and things like that in the future. So you didn't hear music when I said you're going to hear a little bit of music, but people who listen to the podcast will hear that. And then Matt and I are going to do a stadium scene plug right now. Matt, you ready?
Yeah.
All right. You want me to kick it off, or do you just want to take the whole thing, Matt, and do the stadium scene plug yourself?
I tend to not listen to what Christian's talking
All right.
about.
All right. I'll do the stadium scene plug. What's up, everybody? Make sure to go check out stadiumscene.tv if you are going to a match in the US or Canada for any sporting event. Could be soccer, could be basketball, baseball, hockey, whatever. They have reviews and recommendations on what to do in the stadiums, in and around stadiums before, after you go to the match, bars and restaurants, how to get to the stadium, where to park, public transportation, all that good stuff. Make sure to check it out on stadiumscene.tv. Matt, what else does Stadium Scene TV offer?
They offer you things like podcasts, blogs, YouTube videos from other content creators like ourselves. And again, it's not just soccer, it's all sports in North America, US and Canada. So check them out again at stadiumscene.tv.
Good stuff. All right, everybody. Anyone joining us or watching live on YouTube, check out stadiumscene.tv. They've been an awesome partner for us, and they have awesome content. So can't recommend them highly enough. Matt, you ready to get into our second segment?
Yeah, what are we starting off
So
with?
favorites to win the tournament, then dark horses to win, and then third section is dark horses to make a splash but not win, and then ultimately who you predict to win. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Matt, do you want to welcome us back and get into things? Just mix things up here?
And then what? Say, welcome back, Dave.
Well, no, welcome back, and then start in this section. The first section, we're going to talk about favorites to win, or do you want me to handle it?
I can do it.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, wait, do you want me to go to? I'll go to you first, and then okay. Yeah.
However you want to do it, Matt. This is your section.
Dave, shut up. It's my section. Welcome back, everyone, to section 2, which I was a little thrown off about that I forgot that I was welcoming you back to section 2. All right, so this section will talk about the favorites, dark horses of the tournament, and potential players to watch out for. So I think there's a handful of teams that you can say are definitely the favorites. Dave, I'll go to you. Who do you think are the absolute favorites to win the tournament?
Yeah, so I think that this is pretty clear cut. I mean, it kind of mirrors the betting odds. So I think USA, France, and Germany are kind of the three clear cut favorites to win the tournament. All three have gone deep in recent tournaments. USA has 3, I believe, World Cups and a number of gold medals. Germany has 2 World Cups, while France, I don't believe, has a World Cup on the women's side of things. They're widely recognized as one of the 3 favorite teams. USA, defending champions. They have one of the most experienced squads. Is that the right way to say that? I don't know what the hell they have a ton of experience. English is tough for me sometimes, guys, even though it's my first language. One of the most experienced squads, one of the strongest and deepest squads as well. I think that they're a little bit thin at outside back. And if you listen to our podcast recently, I think that their goal in this tournament is to just outscore teams and just overpower them. And so it's going to be fascinating to watch them try to do that. France, meanwhile, tons of experience. A lot of their players play for Olympique Lyon in France, who is the most dominant women's team in Europe, possibly the world. They have 4 consecutive Champions Leagues, I believe something like 13 or so consecutive domestic league titles, and a lot of their squad comes from them, and we'll highlight some of them, in our third segment. And Germany it's like similar on the men's side. I don't want to compare men and women, but on the men's side, they're just good. Like the Germans just know how to play, they know how to win, and they're going to find a way to grind out results in this tournament, or at least they should. I'll touch on. Well, might as well talk about it now. The way that I have my bracket setting up, and because we picked Germany to finish second in the group, that means that they'll play USA in the round of 16, which is going to be a wild matchup. And then because of the way we picked France finishing first in their group, I have them winning the round of 16, but then they would play USA in the quarterfinals. So theoretically, the USA could, or the way I have my bracket working out, I have the USA playing Germany in the round of 16, France in the quarterfinals, and then England in the semifinals, who I have as probably the 4th favorite, and the betting odds have as the 4th favorite. And we'll talk about them in the dark horses, but it's going to be a tough road for the USA if they do ultimately win. And a lot of the favorites are on collision courses for each other. And so that's going to be fascinating to watch from this tournament. But Matt, what do you think is going to happen for the favorites?
Yeah, it's just so odd that we have almost the exact same ideas about this tournament so far. So like Dave said, USA, France, and Germany, I think 3 favorites. Another one I put 4, Brazil, just because of what they've done in previous tournaments, how they came through Copa America, right?
Copa America Femenina.
Femenina. Just how they came through there. I have a lot of faith in them. They perform well at these tournaments. I mean, I don't think they've won recently, but they've been in the semifinals most of the tournaments. I think in the last World Cup, I think they were in the semifinals. Olympics before that, I think they were semifinals. So I think they're a team that can go far, and is just someone to watch out for. Yeah.
All right.
Am I taking the okay? Dark horses. Forgot this is my section. Dave, since you already touched on one of them, do you want to continue with your dark horses?
Yeah, sure. And so England is kind of that hybrid where I think you could even consider them to be a favorite at this point. They're betting odds fourth favorite. They came in third in 2015. They have supremely talented players. And so I would be fine with you putting them either as a favorite to win the tournament or as a dark horse. I'm kind of giving them a dark horse label because I don't know if they've won any major tournaments at the women's level. And so they haven't won much at the men's level either in recent years, but they're still zing, but they're still supremely talented. I think they're going to make noise in this tournament. I have them going to the semifinals, and I could easily see them getting past the USA in that match and making the finals and coming through a tough qualification. My other team that I have as a dark horse to potentially win is the Netherlands. I think that they're European champions, they're reigning European champions. They, again, I touched on it kind of in the group section, but I think that they can make some serious noise in this tournament. They have really talented players. Danielle van de Donk for the Netherlands, who plays her club ball at Arsenal, is incredibly talented on the ball. She's got some cool highlight videos and things like that. And so that's just one of the players. And they have a lot of talented players. And I think that, the experience of already winning a major tournament, for me, gives them a slight edge over a team like Spain or Australia or South Korea or someone like that, who I have kind of in our next section that we're going to talk about. So those are my two dark horses to win.
All right, fair enough. So England's one of mine as well, and my other one, I didn't have Netherlands. I had Canada as my dark horse. I don't think too many people are talking about them. Just from what I've seen, I haven't seen them play too many games other than against the U.S. And when I was looking at recent results, it seems like only other top teams are where they get close, and maybe even when they play against top teams, it's a one goal game and tight fought match. So I think Canada has the talent to go, far into this tournament, and I think it's not being talked about enough.
All right, we'll see.
So Dave, who do you think are the teams that will make a run, the dark horses that will make a run but will not win?
So for me, I have four listed here, and I've already touched on them in different ways, but my one that I'm most excited about is Spain. I have them coming through first in their group with Germany. I have them making the final, actually, because of the way I have my groups kind of played out. I have them going on the easier side of the bracket and able to make the final. I've already touched on that. I think that La Liga is doing amazing things to grow and develop the women's game, and I think that this is going to be a breakout tournament for them. I just don't think they have the edge to get the win in the final, whether it's against the USA or England, Spain, or not Spain, because we're talking about Spain, France potentially making it there. I think that they'll ultimately fall short, but they can make some serious noise in this. South Korea, again, I think their defense, and they have a handful of players, a center midfielder who's one of the best in the world, and so they can make a splash here. Again, I don't think have quite enough to get go all the way and win the tournament, but can make some noise. Australia has one of the best strikers in the world, and again, one of the favorites in every women's World Cup. Not at the very top, but can make some noise. And then Brazil, I still have in there, although I've already said they're really trending in the wrong direction, and I would be fine with them possibly even shockingly not making it out of the group or being knocked out in the round of 16. But again, because they've won the Copa America Femenina, they have a ton of experience at the international level. I think that is enough for them to make a run in this tournament, make a splash, but not ultimately win. So those are my four.
Okay, I had three. Like you said, South Korea, very structured defensively. I think that can help. Another one I had was China. I think I forget what place they came in the Asian Games last year, but they had their striker who won the Golden Boot, 7 goals in 5 matches, Li Ying. So it's just someone to watch out for, and I think hopefully she can carry China to maybe some results, having a goal scorer like that at the international level. And the other one I have is New Zealand, just with the experience, and I don't think they have a shot necessarily winning the tournament, but I think the experience can help them get some shock results.
All right, cool. And then who do we predict to win it all, Matt?
I think France is going to win.
All right. I went with a homer pick of the USA, but I am not confident whatsoever in that pick for a number of reasons. One of which is that the bracket that I have them coming through is going to be incredibly tough, and it could be just that they get worn down throughout the tournament, and that could play a factor in it. It could be that they just come up against a better side on the day in any one of Germany, France, or England on their road to the final. And again, I think that they're experienced, but experience can take you so far, but it could hurt you in other ways. And again, players may not be on form. Some players aren't playing for their clubs, and a couple injuries, a couple suspensions, because in the World Cup, those things happen because it's a condensed time period. You only need 2 yellow cards for a suspension. And so those all could play a role in why the USA ultimately doesn't win. But having said all of that, I still predict the USA to win. I think that they're one of, if not the most talented women's team in the world, tons of experience. And so going with the homer pick, but picking the USA to win.
Is FIFA ever planning on fixing the 2 yellow cards? Because it's so frustrating.
They have to, because it's absolutely absurd.
Is it through 5 matches or?
I believe
4?
so. Yeah, it's through at least the round of 16 and possibly even the quarterfinals, which is an absolutely absurd rule in the modern game. Maybe back in the day where yellow cards weren't dished out quite as much, it made sense. But nowadays, yellow cards are dished out, rightfully so, to control matches. But it's absurd that you have to go 5 matches without picking up 2 yellow cards in order to not get suspended for a semifinal. So I'm in agreement with you on that one, Matt.
All right. Do we want to talk about players of the tournament here, players to watch out for?
Let's talk about that in the third segment here.
Okay. So I think that's going to wrap up, this segment. Thanks for listening, guys. Listen to a little bit of music, and we'll be right back.
All right, good stuff. I'll do a quick plug for our stuff because, we got some merch. Hey, everybody. Go check out our store link on our website, brostalkingsoccer.com. Click our store. We have a sweatshirt. We have a long sleeve tee. And coming soon, we will have a t-shirt for sale. And so we have merch. We would appreciate it if you like us, you like what we're doing here and want to support us. That would be awesome. So again, all of that is available on our store link on our website, brostalkingsoccer.com. Go check it out today. All right. And that's that. And pretty soon we'll have other ads to do in there. So I'm just plugging us while we have the opportunity. Mm-hmm. Jeff, to answer your question, who are the locked-in starters for the USA? We'll touch on that a little bit in here, but it's a pretty set lineup. Oh, man. Goalkeeper's name, why is it escaping me, Matt? Do you know the goalkeeper? We'll look up the goalkeeper's name, and that's our bad for not having that. But right back is going to be Heather. God, I did this weekend. Is it Heather O'Reilly? Yeah. No, Kelly O'Hara. Kelly O'Hara. I know it didn't. Oh, yeah. Kelly O'Hara is going to be the right back. I think Becky Sauerbrunn is going to be a penciled in starter as a center back, and Crystal Dunn is the left back. Not as confident about who the other center back is going to be. Julie
Ertz was playing holding mid or center back, I saw. But.
So I would expect Julie to play center mid, and we're going to touch on her in our next segment. She's a locked-in starter. Alex Morgan is going to be a locked-in starter. Tobin Heath is a locked-in starter. And anyone else a definite locked-in starter? So those are definitely the players.
Carly Lloyd. Did you say Carly Lloyd?
Carly Lloyd's not a locked-in starter anymore. She's coming off the bench, and she's not happy about it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really? She's favored to win Golden Ball for some reason.
That's an interesting decision. Yeah, because she's coming off the bench. Then the betting odds either know something we don't or are way off, and that's something.
Or maybe I looked at an old one.
Yeah. But those are some names to watch out for. Matt, did you happen to look up the goalkeeper's name?
No, I was in the process of looking up the U20s.
Okay. Jeff, bear with us 1 second here while we look it up. Ashlyn Harris, I believe, is her name. Yeah. So she should be the starter here, and she's talented enough to not. It's not like we don't have confidence in her. So that'll be someone to look out for.
So Ukraine's up 1-0, and US is 0-0.
Geez, US is still 0-0. Okay, that's not great. Is it almost the end of the first half?
40 minutes in.
Okay. All right. It's a quick U20 update. All right, third section. Let's get into it. Welcome back, everybody. Segment 3 and final segment of our 2019 World Cup preview. Let's talk about some players to watch out for in this tournament. I have quite the list here, Matt, and we didn't talk about how we wanted to accomplish this, even though we took a break, and so that's just spot on from us. But why don't you give 2 or 3 players, and then I'll give 2 or 3 players, and then we can sort of roll with it from there. So why don't you start us off? Who are 2 or 3 players you're looking out for?
Okay, I put 4 total because, like we said, we never talked about this, so I just took like a handful, and I was like, let's see how this works. All right. So I'll say the one I'm most excited about as my homer pick is Tobin Heath. Ever since I first watched her play, she is the most direct player, very skillful. It seems like every time she gets the ball, she wants to run at the defender. Just something I love from a player. So she's my number 1 player to watch out for. I mentioned Li Ying before, goal scorer for China. Hopefully she can break out again at the World Cup. And another one, a Japanese player who's 20, I think she just turned 26 in her 3rd World Cup already, Mana Iwabuchi. Pretty sure I'm saying that right. I was watching like her YouTube videos and things like that. It's funny. It's just like the Japanese female Messi is the title of the YouTube videos. And it's just like strangely specific. It's incredible that she's already playing her 3rd major tournament at the World Cup with Japan at such a young age. Very talented, another player to watch out for.
Okay, and then might as well give your 4th because you said you only have 4.
All right, Jennifer, the German attacker that plays for Frankfurt, Jennifer Morozen, I think, pronouncing her name right. Another skillful attacker. I think is like supposed to be Germany's best attacking player. I've not been able to watch any of Germany's games recently, so just another player to watch out for.
All right, there you go. So the only one that we overlapped on was Tobin Heath. So in this one, it probably would have been good to have more overlap, but I'll rattle off a bunch of names that I'm looking out for. So first one I want to mention is Christine Sinclair. She's a Canadian legend. This is her 5th World Cup. I think she's going to have over 300 games played or 300 caps and I believe over 200 goals throughout. That's what she'll achieve by the end of this tournament in her career. So she's someone more of an honorary person to watch out for. Marta kind of fits into that same category. She's a Brazilian, 33 years old, one of the greatest female players ever. So
her 5th one too.
Yeah, her 5th as well. So so those are the 2 kind of more experienced players that I wanted to highlight. And so again, we already mentioned Tobin Heath. My other USA homer pick is Julie Ertz. She's not going to be flashy the way that Tobin Heath is, but she's going to be incredibly physical, incredibly dominating as a center midfielder, and her health and ability is going to carry the U.S. in this tournament, so she's someone you got to watch out for if you're looking for combative center midfielders. Mentioned earlier, Sam Kerr for Australia. She's one of the best attackers in the world, 25 years old, so watch out for her. Fran Kirby for England, 25, won the 2018 PFA and FWA Footballer of the Year on the women's side. She's a forward for England, someone to keep your eye on there. 2 French players I wanted to highlight is Amandine Henry. She is very similar to Julie Ertz in that she's a combative center midfielder. She is someone who is going to control the game for France. And if USA and France does meet up in the quarterfinals, that's going to be one hell of a match between those 2 players. Amandine Henry won the silver ball in 2015 at the World Cup. And again, is just an incredible player to watch. Another dominating player on France is Wendy Renard. She is a 28-year-old center defender. I believe she's 6'1". Last I checked, she had kind of big hair, and so she really sticks out on the pitch. And she plays for Olympique Lyonnais in France and is likely one of the best defenders in the world. Again, a physical presence, dangerous on set pieces, but also just really stout defensively. And so someone who's going to dominate a game from the center back position. Matt, any comments on anyone before I just keep rattling off names?
No.
Okay, I'll keep it going. One young player to keep your eye on is Jody Brown for Jamaica. She's 17 years old. She's a forward, and she was voted the best young player at the CONCACAF tournament. So again, someone 17 who could make an impact at this tournament. So you don't often get 17-year-olds breaking through on the international stage. So she is someone to keep your eye on. I know you touched on another Japanese player, but I have Yuka Momiki here. She's 23 years old, forward. She led Japan to 3rd at the 2016 U20 World Cup. So she's breaking through at the senior side right now. So she's someone to watch out for. Ji Sun Yoon for South Korea is a 28-year-old midfielder. She is the top player in South Korea's history. She's the player who I mentioned earlier in the podcast, who is going to be influential and likely maybe a class or two above a lot of her teammates for South Korea. And so she's going to be, getting goals, setting up teammates, and a lot of their attack and just overall play is going to flow through her. For Spain, I know I'm very high on Spain in this tournament. I have Jennifer Hermoso Fuentes for Spain. She scored 7 goals and had 9 assists in World Cup qualifying, someone to keep an eye on. And then lastly, for the Netherlands, Danielle van de Donk. Again, she's had incredible highlight videos that you've probably seen on Twitter. She was voted Arsenal's best player last season, and just someone who's going to do some incredible things out there on the pitch. So definitely keep your eye out for her. So lots of other players, but these were some of them we wanted to highlight for you to keep your eyes on. Matthew, someone else.
No, I just want to correct myself. So Jennifer Morozan, I said played for Frankfurt. She is on Lyon.
All right.
So I just want to correct myself.
All right, cool. And then the next thing we wanted to talk about in this section. So those are some players to keep your eyes on. Unfortunately, there's one player who's not going to be at this tournament who I think we all would love to see, and that's Ada Hegerberg, who is the reigning Ballon d'Or Feminine, I believe is what it's called, the reigning Ballon d'Or Best Player in Europe award for women. She is not going to be at this tournament with Norway. And so there's kind of conflicting reports on exactly why she's not going to be there. She says she doesn't agree with what the Norwegian FA is doing. And so there's a lot of push-pull back and forth. Matt, what do you make of this situation where basically the best player or one of the best players in the world at 23 or 24 years old is sitting out the World Cup? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think it's strange, especially because I didn't go super in depth with my research, but I looked at something like 2 or 3 different articles where it was kind of conflicting points where it was saying like people should support her. And like Marcha was out saying like she can't make this stand alone. We need other players to support her. But I think to kind of grow the women's game, you need tournaments like this, and to have equality, like you need to perform at these tournaments. And I think that's what's going to help, eventually lead to equality in the women's game. So for me, it's just hard to understand what's exactly going on in Norway, because she's saying they're not supporting them in some fashion. I don't know if that was financially or in terms of like the domestic leagues or youth development. So I couldn't figure out what was necessarily wrong or her exact stance, but it's just weird how people are supporting her without necessarily supporting her.
Exactly. And so I think the Norwegian FA made a decision to pay the men and the women's players the exact same wages for appearances and all of that. So they're paid the same. I think from a manager perspective, the coaches and managers are paid differently, but the Norwegian FA has done something to try to make up, at least financially. And I'm in the same situation as you. The reports are that she just isn't happy with the Norwegian FA, but we don't exactly know why or what. And so I want to support her in this, but I'm still confused about what exactly is happening here. And so, it's just a sad, unfortunate situation, and I hope it gets resolved definitely by the Euros or definitely by the next World Cup, because it's disappointing that we're missing her in this tournament. I do want to say I think she's been a senior international since something like 15 or 16 years old, and she is only 23 or 24 at this point, and so she's been a senior national for a number of years, and it could be that she was mistreated kind of throughout that time, and now the bridge has kind of been burned. I mean, we kind of see this. It's not an exact comparison, so apologies again for comparing to the men's side, but Carlos Vela is kind of doing this with the Mexican team, where he just doesn't have an interest in playing internationally. The club game pays his contract. I don't think he loves soccer. He's come out and kind of said that he doesn't really love it a ton. He just happens to be good at it and gets paid for it, but he doesn't go out of his way to play more. And so I don't know if that's factoring in here. I don't want to speculate, but I mean, it is just kind of an interesting comparison where Carlos Vela is skipping out on the Gold Cup this summer, not really making a stance though. His is just more out of not laziness, but just not caring about it. So I guess, I don't know. Now that I've said all of that, I guess it isn't the same situation. She's making some sort of stance, but I would love for either a little bit more clarity to be put out there, or again, maybe a more clarified report, so I can, I do want to support her and do what I can. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you touched on everything, related and not related.
Yeah, sorry, that was very roundabout there, so my apologies. Next and last thing we wanted to touch on here is the ticketing controversy that happened for the World Cup. So for those who don't know, people bought tickets to the World Cup, and when they went to go check their tickets fairly recently, they realized that if they bought more than one ticket at a time, some of those tickets weren't seated together. And so if a family of 5 bought tickets, and all 5 could have been scattered throughout the stadium. And so people started to circulate this on social media, and FIFA's response was basically like, there was a disclaimer when you accepted the tickets, and this one's on you. We're not going to fix it. I think they've backed off that stance. And also, I think this was only less than 5% of the tickets, so it wasn't like everybody, but this still happened. And for FIFA to respond the way that they did was a bit ridiculous, in my opinion. But Matt, what do you make of this whole ticketing controversy?
Yeah, I think you said it best, where that it's ridiculous in the stance that they took initially. It's like, so it's kind of like an experience to go, especially if you're going with a family or with a group of friends. It's like you want to have that experience together. I understand there are people that go solo to these events, but I think a lot of people want to go as groups, and to just say you're going to have to sit by yourself, and we had a disclaimer and things like that. It's pretty ridiculous, and especially because like you want to be around people like supporting the same things as you and things like that. So it's kind of tough to support if you get put in a random spot with maybe other fans or other teams' supporters.
Yeah, this is like customer service 101, where I can't believe FIFA's response was, there was a disclaimer, tough luck. Like that's just absurd to me that was their response. I mean, at the very least, say we're looking into the issue, we'll get it resolved. Like that, it's just so simple and easy to have that response. And so for them to respond in the way that they did is absolutely absurd and just incredibly frustrating. I hope that it gets fixed. I mean, the publicity and noise surrounding it has kind of died down, and so I'm not sure if the issue has been resolved, but this is something that we certainly wanted to highlight because people shouldn't just forget about this. This is something that needs to get fixed, and so we wanted to highlight it here. Matt, anything else you want to add?
No.
All right. The last thing, we don't want to end on a down note. So the last thing I wanted to mention here is I am extremely excited for this World Cup. This is the first one I can remember where I think that there's a legit 4 to 6 teams who could walk away with the title, and it should be incredibly competitive. It should be high quality, and it's an exciting time to be following the women's game, and I am very excited for this tournament. So I wanted to say that because it's going to be an incredible time. It's going to be an incredible tournament, and I'm excited to be following it. Matt, anything you want to say?
Yeah, so I'm excited to watch it in Texas. Hopefully the soccer community comes better in Texas. I know in like Pennsylvania where we lived, it was like when the women's game came around, like everyone was watching. Soccer fans, not soccer fans were watching. From what I've noticed in Texas, it isn't that big of a soccer culture. So I want to see if they rally behind the women's team, and I'm excited to watch. Quick question: what network is covering women's World Cup?
Fox.
Okay.
So it'll be on Fox Sports, all over their network. So be sure to be following all of that. If you liked what you heard here, please leave us a review on whatever podcasting platform you listen to us on. It really, really helps us out. We have a Slack channel for the podcast where we're interacting with soccer fans all over the world. It's free to join. So if you want to be a part of that channel, just hit us up at BT Soccer Pod on Twitter or send an email, bros.talking.soccer@gmail.com. We can get you added. For those who don't know, Slack is basically kind of like a mixture of a chat room, instant messenger service where you can just interact with soccer fans all over the world. We have they're called channels in the Slack channel where we're chatting about MLS. We'll have a channel for the World Cup. We have channels about the European leagues, transfer rumors, all kinds of stuff. And so it's just a way to interact and fun way to interact with us as well as tons of other soccer fans. I think we're up to like 35, 40 people in that Slack channel. So it's growing and definitely more interactive. So it's a lot of fun. Matt, can you tell people about our website?
You can visit our website at www.brostalkingsoccer.com. There you can find past podcast episodes, not just one. YouTube videos.
More than one.
Yeah, you can read about us, the brothers. We also have another brother named Christian. He's usually on these podcasts. He's not here today. He's working. But yeah, and there's also a store link, which will have our merch soon. And there's the Amazon store link where you can go shop for your regular Amazon needs. And it's just a couple additional steps, and it really helps us support the show.
Yeah, and it's no additional cost to you. We forgot to mention that in the past couple of podcasts. So if you go to our store link off of Amazon, whatever you end up buying, it's no additional cost to you. It's just a very small percentage comes to help us, cover the cost of doing all of this, and we would greatly appreciate it. So Matt, thanks so much for talking with me today and previewing the World Cup.
Yeah, Dave, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
I agree. Listeners, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you guys, and we will be back with another episode soon. Go enjoy the World Cup, and we'll be doing, again, reminder, daily episodes of the World Cup. So make sure to tune in, follow us, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Talk to you soon, everybody. See ya. All right, cool. Anyone who has joined us live on YouTube, Jeff, particularly, thank you so much for interacting with us as we've gone along here. We appreciate that. This podcast, we haven't decided. We'll be releasing a UEFA podcast tomorrow. So probably Saturday is when this will go out, Matt. Do you think that makes the most sense?
Yeah.
All right, so this will be out on Saturday. So you guys got anyone who joined us, sneak peek at the content. And yeah, I think that's it. Go enjoy the World Cup. We're pumped about it, so you should be as well. And we'll talk to you all soon. Say, everybody. There it is. See ya.